Hi, my name is Emily Hartman, and today we'll be speaking about to have a friend, you must be one, when friendships begin in early childhood education. I'm a 21-year-old mother, wife, and teacher at Creative Minds in Lawrenceburg, Kentucky, where I teach pre-K. Teaching makes my life whole, no matter how stressful the days may get. The outcomes are always more rewarding. My 2-year-old is Hadley, who's almost 3. She's one of the reasons I chose this subject. Even at 2 years old, I've noticed that friendship is really important to her. She has strong leadership qualities, and I'm excited to see where she grows. So it's one of the reasons I chose this topic as a parent and a teacher. Friends are so important, even starting at the age of 2. I can't wait to begin this presentation journey with you. We have multiple slides to go through, and each one will focus on a small topic. It will be through the ages and the stages of friendship when it begins in the journey of it. The first stage, 0 to 2, imitation. Children are always learning from you. I think it's extremely important to use communication, whether it's a 1-year-old, 2-year-old, or even an infant. Even small things, like if you hear a baby babbling, giggling, it's important to say, "Oh my, you have so many things you need to tell me." Even those small words, that child is learning and absorbing those things in her brain. It helps them develop in large ways. Babies are formed to make relationships, so just naturally responding to them like you would be responding to an adult is how they need to be spoken to. Guidance is really important. Young toddlers will learn from you and how you interact with others and how you interact with their peers. So it's important to be positive and uplifting in your language. They learn side by side. That's how they start to play. So it's really important to guide them in a positive direction, saying words like, "Oh, let me help you," or "Oh, me too, I love that." The next important stage in this age would be awareness. Toddlers don't really understand others' point of views but their own right now. They're really into my and me. Just because a toddler's crying they're not crying just to cry. They're usually crying because they're initially sad too. They're aware that someone else is sad, so they're going to be sad as well. It's important when they're almost around 1, that's when their real friendships will start to grow. They become more consciously aware of themselves and the others around them. They start to understand cause and effect, so grabbing my friend's toy will make him cry. So it's not always positive communication or awareness they're building. It starts out negative. It's also important to promote give and take in your children. 2-year-olds are going to push really strong towards independence. So as we said before, we said that the child's going to cry, or the child's going to take the toy because they know their friend's going to cry. It's the same thing. They know that if they take their friend's toy, that the friend's going to cry, the teacher's going to be angry, and that child's going to be the one in control, and that's what they want. They want to be independent and in control no matter what they have to do to receive that. A friendship between 2 toddlers can be very, very intimate and meaningful. If a friend is crying and sad, other friends will come up to that friend and give them hugs and kiss them on the cheek and tell them they're sorry. So it's really important to promote this when they're building their friendships. This stage is really the basis for the true friendship stages that come in the ages of 3 and 4. And it's important to remember, as we said in infancy, communication is the building block to building relationships and forming friendships. They will have these foundation of blocks their whole entire life. There's many easy things you can do to promote communication, relationships, and friendships in infants and toddlers. Placing infants near one another so they can see how their friends act and their friends communicate. Planning small group activities where they're working side by side. They're not working on the same thing. They each have their own markers. They each have their own paper. They each have their own Play-Doh. So they're still around one another, but they're not having to fight over this is mine in their group. Think about having a quiet, cozy time corner. Those are really important in all age groups, I think. When a child is upset and sad, have comfy stuffed animals, exciting books, things they can draw on so they can tell you their feelings and they can just cool down. It's also important to remember that these children are together 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, so we got to give them breaks from each other. If they same friends keep playing over and over and fighting, it's probably time to separate them no matter how they want to be separated. Their outcome of their day and their learning that day will become much greater. Alright, let's move on to the next stage. Ages 3 to 4, everyone is friends. This might not be true, but it's really important to promote this because as adults it's really hard to steer away from, oh, this is my friend, I like this person more than this person, even as adults. So it's important to ensure in them young that being friends with everyone is better than being friends with just one or two people. Children will begin by forming attachments to one special friend, one special buddy, one best bud, and it's usually of the same sex. So often if one of those friends loses another friend to moving or they go to kindergarten, it's very stressful. So while you may not think it's important that this child has lost a friend, that friend thinks it's extremely important. So we have to get down on their level and remember how they're thinking. At 4, they're learning to gain another person's perspective. Preschoolers may not be able to maintain playing with this special friend because of something she or he cannot control. So they're going to be really upset if you're not letting them play by one another, but it's important to remember and to remind them that they have other friends they can play with and enjoy being around. Now, fleeting friendships for 3-year-olds is extremely important. 3-year-olds they do form friendships, but it's more in a way, what does this child have that I can have? They're playing with something I'm interested in. So if one friend is playing with a brand new bucket of blocks, the other friend might go play with them, and they might be their friend for the next 10 minutes because they really want to play with that toy. 3-year-olds restart their relationships over and over all day long in their friendships. They're easily moving on to one another because of their activities of interest. They're really not into competing. They're really more into competing for friends because they're wanting what those friends have. So it's important to remind these friends that there's all kinds of friends we can play with. And a lot of times they'll get into arguments with one another because they want the toy. So even at this age, side-by-side play can happen, but we really want to encourage cooperative play as much as we can. And that brings us right into cooperations. 4-year-olds become much more cooperative in their relationships. They want to interact with others and participate in play activities. When preschoolers can see others' ideas through planning, this is when positive interactions can help sustain relationships. Now, problems arise during this as well. There's usually a leader, and there's a child that will follow along. When that doesn't happen, sometimes the friendship may fall apart because one person might say, I'm the boss, but the other person might not like that plan, so they do something different. And then they have a conflict, and the friends have to figure out whether they want their own independence or they're willing to play with another friend and cooperate. What can you do here? Coach them early. Start 0 to 2 as we talked about earlier. Let them understand that it is okay that your friend is playing with someone else, or your friend's not there today, or that you can play together and we can all work together. Give them a chance to practice their social skills. Offer interesting centers, such as dancing or some crazy tag outside. Play should be simple. They're going to gain more way out of being simple than you out of being stressed and trying to plan something crazy. And also, there's plenty of good friendship building books out there. One is Frog and Toad are friends. It explains problems about story characters and their differences and how they overcome these differences to play together and have fun. I just want to say I'm really happy you joined me during this presentation today. I especially made it for parents who are struggling to understand the relationships and friendships that children have at school all day. Teachers trying to have a better grasp of it. But for example, I was at the store the other day and a parent saw me and they came up to me and they started questioning about why their child wasn't playing with their best buddy anymore. And so parents are concerned about this because parents hear from their children how sad they are that someone might not be playing with them. And it's just important for parents to understand that it's okay. It's okay for a friend to move on to a new friend, for them not to play together for a while. So I'm hoping this presentation is able to make you feel more comfortable when your child comes home sad. Thank you for joining me. Here are my works cited. One article I got my information from was Ages and Stages, How Children Build Friendships. This is on a Scholastic article. Also found a high scope article called Building Friendships. So either of these can give you more insight and information on our presentation today. Thank you and have a good night.